By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why lottery winners, people handed millions of dollars overnight, end up broke, bankrupt, and sometimes worse. The commonly reported figure, around 70% of them. But the last reason I'm going to show you has nothing to do with bad decisions or reckless spending. It's about a system quietly designed to destroy the very people it claims to reward. Once you hear it, you won't look at the lottery the same way again. So grab something to drink, settle in, and let's get into it. Here's where most people get it wrong. They assume lottery winners go broke because they're irresponsible. Mansions, sports cars, champagne on a Tuesday. And sure, some of that happens. But the collapse starts before the first shopping spree. It starts with math almost nobody understands until it's too late. Picture a billboard on the highway, Powerball, $100 million. You see that number every morning on your commute. You dream about it at your desk. You mentally furnish a house with it. You promise your mom she'll never work again. Then you win. Here's what actually happens. You probably take the lump sum. About 60 to 70% of winners do. That lump sum isn't 100 million. It's closer to 50 or 60 million. Already sliced nearly in half. Then the IRS takes 37% federal taxes. Your state takes another 5 to 13% on top. When the dust settles, that $100 million jackpot puts roughly 35 to 40 million in your hand. Still life-changing money. But your brain already spent 100 million. You already promised your brother you'd cover his mortgage. You already pictured the beach house, the trip to Italy, the new life. And now you're working with less than half of what you imagined. By week 1, the phone hasn't stopped ringing. By month 3, you've loaned money to people you barely remember. By month 6, the first investments. A cousin's restaurant, a friend's business idea are already failing. A 2010 study from the Review of Economics and Statistics tracked lottery winners over time and found them no better off financially, and often worse, within 3 to 5 years. Researchers at the University of Kentucky and Vanderbilt found that Florida lottery winners who took home between $50,000 and $150,000 were roughly twice as likely to declare bankruptcy as people who won almost nothing. The math doesn't just surprise winners. It sets a trap. And the clock starts ticking before you even deposit the check. Now, here's where things get harder to hear. Because the math problem, that's the easy part. What actually destroys people is what happens to your identity and every relationship you have. Evelyn Adams won the New Jersey lottery in 1985, $3.9 million. Then she won it again in 1986, another 1.4 million. The odds? Roughly 1 in 17 trillion. She beat impossible odds twice, and she still lost everything. She developed a gambling habit at Atlantic City casinos. She made poor investments. But the thing that drained her fastest wasn't the slots. It was people. Family asked for money. Friends asked. Strangers asked. Everyone had a handout, and she couldn't close hers. Her words, "I never learned one simple word in the English language." No. By the early 2000s, Evelyn Adams was living in a trailer park. A window unit humming in the summer heat. 2 jackpots. Over $5 million. Gone. Financial psychologist Dr. Brad Klontz has a name for what happened to her. He calls it the identity vacuum. Most lottery winners never built what he describes as a wealthy identity. The habits, the boundaries, the internal framework that people who build wealth over decades develop along the way. Klontz puts it bluntly. If you don't feel worthy of the money on the inside, you will unconsciously find ways to get rid of it. That's not stupidity. That's not greed. It's your brain dragging you back to what feels familiar. And it happens fast. Within a year, most winners have already made the decisions that seal their fate. By year 2, the financial advisors, if they hired any, are sounding alarms nobody listens to. Here's the thing most people won't say out loud. If someone handed you or me $50 million tomorrow, no preparation, no training, no warning, there's a real chance we wouldn't do much better. The money changes your outside life overnight. But the inside hasn't moved an inch. Think about that for a second. If this is clicking for you, hit subscribe. I drop videos like this every week. And the part I've been saving, it's next. All right. Remember how I said the last reason has nothing to do with individual choices? Here's exactly what I mean. This is the part that genuinely made me angry when I started digging into the research. Lotteries are overwhelmingly played by lower income Americans. Research shows that households earning under $30,000 a year spend 9 to 13% of their income on lottery tickets, a dramatically higher share than any other income group, which means the people most likely to win are the people who've never had the chance to manage large sums of money. Not because they're less capable, because the opportunity was never on the table. And what does the system do when one of these players hits the jackpot? It photographs them holding a giant novelty check. It releases their name, their city, sometimes their face to every news outlet in the state. In most states, winners can't remain anonymous. Their identity gets broadcast to every distant cousin, every con artist, every predator within 100 miles. Then the system walks away. No mandatory financial counseling, no guidance, nothing. Susan Bradley, a certified financial planner who founded the Sudden Money Institute, has spent decades studying this. She describes a critical window she calls the decision-free zone, a period right after receiving sudden wealth where the worst thing you can do is make major financial decisions. Most winners do the opposite. They buy a house in the first week. They loan money to a cousin by day 3. Nobody tells them to wait. Nobody tells them anything. Billie Bob Harrell Jr. won $31 million in Texas in 1997. He was a Home Depot employee, a churchgoer, a father. The Thanksgiving after his win, he loaded up trucks with turkeys, thousands of them. He drove them to families in need across Houston, handing them out one by one with both hands. He bought houses for relatives. He gave to his church, to strangers, to anyone who asked, because that's who he was. But by month 6, the requests hadn't slowed. They'd multiplied. By year 1, his marriage was fracturing under the weight of decisions that never stopped coming. He'd signed a deal with a company giving him cash advances against future lottery payments, a deal his financial advisor later called catastrophic. Less than 2 years after winning, Billie Bob Harrell was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was 47 years old. Shortly before he died, he told a financial advisor these exact words: "Winning the lottery was the worst thing that ever happened to me." Abraham Shakespeare won $30 million in Florida in 2006. He could barely read. Contracts, financial documents, legal agreements. Nearly impossible for him to navigate. He sat across tables from people pushing papers he couldn't fully understand. Before his death, people who knew him said he told them, "I'd rather be broke than have it. Everybody's trying to take it." A woman named Doris Moore befriended him, claiming she wanted to write a book about people who'd taken advantage of him. She took control of his finances, and he vanished. His body was found buried under a concrete slab behind a house Moore had purchased. She was convicted of first-degree murder. The lottery didn't corrupt Billie Bob. It didn't outsmart Abraham. It overwhelmed them. It put targets on their backs, flooded them with demands from everyone they'd ever known, and stripped away the relationships that made life feel worth living. Then it handed them checks 40% smaller than advertised, with no guidance, no support, no preparation. That's not individual failure. That's a system built without a single safeguard for the human being standing at the center of it. So, there it is. 3 reasons lottery winners go broke. The math tricks your brain before you even cash the check. The money exposes every psychological crack you didn't know you had. And the entire system, from the public announcements to the zero financial support, is built without a single mechanism to protect the very people it rewards. That last part is the one worth sitting with. If this changed how you see the lottery, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe. Next week, I'm breaking down the psychology of why people stay in debt even when they know better. Same patterns, different trap. I'll see you there.